Someone says it's absolute nonsense. If you take anything and make it into dust, it will fall slower than the original thing. Um, so somebody's here claiming that if you make something into dust, it's going to fall at a slower rate. That's true. I just said that. If you make something smaller, it will fall at a slower rate, but the rate of descent is not going to change much from free fall because it's it's a ratio between the wind resistance and the weight of the object. So it doesn't matter when you see someone in a vacuum, and I know this is very counterintuitive and it's hard for people to understand, but if you go watch the old Apollo video where they dropped a hammer and a feather, which one hit the ground at the same time? They hit the ground at exactly the same time. And the reason they did is because there was no wind resistance. So when you take that formula and you have no wind resistance, then it doesn't matter how heavy something is, it's going to fall at the same rate of speed. When you add air into the equation, you now have a resistance to the rate of speed. But the thing about a feather, and the reason they used the feather in that experiment, is because the feather is much lighter in ratio to its size. So it's going to have a much larger wind resistance in ratio to its size. When you're dealing with a nanoparticle or a small particle that's just a few millimeters, then you're actually reducing the wind resistance. You're making the thing very, very aerodynamic, and it's still very heavy in ratio to its size. So those small particulates, it doesn't matter what you think or what you feel with your right brain, this is physics. So, it's not me saying this and making this up, this is just physics. So we all have to just learn to deal with physics, and this is the way it works. A lot of people today think with their right brain, or they think emotionally about it, or it just doesn't seem right, so it's hard for them to believe. Well, many things don't seem right. It doesn't seem right that a feather and hammer should hit the ground at the same time in a vacuum, but they do. So the bottom line is that the rate of descent is going to be a ratio between the weight of the object and the wind resistance. And because a nanoparticle or a very small particle that is metal has a very small ratio of wind resistance to weight, just like a hammer does, it's going to fall very quickly. And this is the reason that I can stand outside, and when they spray a chemtrail, 15 minutes to 30 minutes later, depending on their altitude, I can smell and taste that plume. It reaches the ground very, very quickly.